"If I make you laugh, what do I get?" said a poor girl to a man, not knowing he was a millionaire. If this story interested you, subscribe to our channel and tell us which city you're watching from. Let's begin. On a cold, damp afternoon in Manchester city centre, businessman Ryan Mitchell walked aimlessly along the wet pavements, indifferent to the hurried passers-by and the noise of the traffic. The grey sky mirrored the emptiness he had carried within him for over a year, ever since his wife, Beatrice, had passed away after a long battle with a serious illness. At 38, the owner of Mitchell Tech, one of the country's largest technology firms, Ryan was respected in the market, feared by competitors, and admired by shareholders. However, behind the facade of success, he was an empty man, carrying an absence that no therapy or fortune seemed able to fill. Ryan adjusted his scarf and continued his aimless walk, as he did almost every day after leaving the office. His doctors had suggested he walk, that he leave the house, that he try new routines. He obeyed mechanically, without truly feeling it made any difference. His walks were just a way to postpone returning to the silent apartment on the top floor of one of the city's most luxurious buildings. It was in this state of quiet apathy that a small figure appeared in his path. A girl of about 7, with dark curly hair and lively eyes, wearing a pair of scruffy trainers and a coat that seemed far too big for her, watched him with a curious gaze that contrasted with the harshness of the surrounding concrete. The girl approached him with the typical boldness of someone who has been ignored too many times to fear rejection. But instead of asking for money or food, as Ryan expected, she did something unusual. "Sir, want to make a bet?" she said with a slight Lancashire accent. "If I can make you laugh, will you buy me a pizza?" Ryan stopped, surprised by the uncommon approach. Before he could answer, the girl began a series of improvised jokes mixing absurdity, exaggerated faces, and hilarious comparisons. "Why did the Scarecrow win an award?" "Because he was outstanding in his field," she said, pulling a funny face. "And what do you call a fake noodle?" "An imposter," she continued, gesturing animatedly. "And why don't scientists trust atoms?" "Because they make up everything." The jokes were simple, childish, but there was something in the girl's spontaneity, in the surreal disconnect between her innocence and the void Ryan carried, that sparked something unexpected in him. He laughed. Not a polite or forced laugh, but a genuine one coming from a place he thought was inaccessible. The girl broke into a triumphant smile. "I won! You owe me a pizza!" Ryan took a better look at the child. Despite her worn clothes and torn trainers, she had a liveliness in her eyes and a dignity that intrigued him. "What's your name?" he asked. "Lily O'Connell," she answered promptly. "But everyone just calls me Lily." "Well, Lily, a bet's a bet. Where do you want to get this pizza?" The girl's eyes sparkled, but then she seemed to hesitate. "Actually, if you could just give me the money, I'll take it home. My little brother is there and he likes pizza too." Ryan felt a warning bell go off. He had enough business experience to recognize when someone wasn't being completely truthful. "What if I took you and your brother out to eat?" "We could go together," he suggested, not wanting to give money directly, fearing it was some kind of scam. Lily bit her lower lip, nervous. "My brother can't go out right now. He's sick." "Where do you live, Lily?" "Over there," she said vaguely, pointing in an indefinite direction. "With my Nan. But she's sleeping now. She works nights." Ryan noticed the girl's embarrassment and decided not to press her further. "How about this? We go to that pizzeria on the corner, order a pizza to take away, and I'll walk you close to your house to make sure you get there safely." Lily considered the proposal for a moment, then nodded. At the pizzeria, the girl chose a large pepperoni pizza, because it's Eddie's favorite. Ryan noticed how she took her time eating the 2 slices. He insisted she try right there, meticulously wrapping the leftovers in napkins and putting them in her small, worn-out backpack. "For Eddie," she explained, noticing his gaze. When they left the pizzeria, Lily suggested a route that, even to Ryan, who didn't know that part of the city well, seemed to take many detours. After a few minutes, as they neared a public square, she stopped abruptly. "I can go on my own from here." "My house is just over there," she said, pointing towards a block of old flats. Ryan frowned. "Are you sure?" "I can walk you to the door." "No need, really. My Nan doesn't like strangers." "Thanks for the pizza." And before Ryan could insist, she grabbed the pizza box and ran off, disappearing among the side streets of the square. That night, in his luxurious empty apartment, Ryan realized that for the first time in a long while, he was thinking about something other than his own pain. The girl was clearly smart, but there was something about her story that didn't add up. Why so much hesitation? Why the rush to get away? The next day, after a particularly tedious meeting with investors, Ryan decided to do something unusual. Instead of having his driver pick him up, he chose to walk the same route as the previous day. He told himself it was just to stretch his legs, but he knew deep down he was looking for the girl with the jokes, and he found her in almost the same spot, watching people with her observant eyes. When she saw him, Lily first smiled, then looked worried. Was the pizza not good? She asked, concerned. Eddie really liked it. The pizza was great, I'm sure, Ryan said, smiling. I was just passing by and saw you. How's your brother? Better, she said, still cautious. What do you do? Do you work around here? Ryan hesitated for a moment, then decided on the truth. I own a technology company. We create apps, software, that sort of thing. Lily's eyes widened. Like games? Eddie loves games, but we don't have a phone. Only on the computers at school sometimes. Something in the mention of school caught Ryan's attention. Which school do you go to, Lily? The girl looked away. We're changing schools. Nan hasn't decided which one yet. Ryan realized he had touched a sensitive point. He changed the subject, asking about the jokes she knew about what she liked to do. Gradually, Lily relaxed and once again showed the vibrant personality that had surprised him the day before. After almost an hour of conversation, Ryan offered to buy her a snack. I can't today, she said, looking genuinely disappointed. I have to get back early. It's Eddie's medicine day. I understand. Maybe another day. Lily nodded enthusiastically. Come tomorrow? Same place. I'll bring my best jokes, she promised before saying goodbye and running off, this time in a different direction from the previous day. In the following days, a routine was established. Ryan would meet Lily after work. They would talk for a while, sometimes eat something together. She never let him walk her home, always making an excuse, always running off at some point. Ryan tried not to push, hoping she would eventually trust him enough to tell him the truth. It was on a particularly cold afternoon, almost 2 weeks after their first meeting, that Lily finally began to open up. Actually, I don't live with my Nan, she confessed, looking down at her own scruffy trainers. Me and Eddie, we're at Rainbow House over in Salford. A children's home? Ryan asked, trying not to show too much surprise so as not to intimidate her. Lily nodded. It's been almost a year. After our mum had to go abroad to get treatment for her illness, and we couldn't get in touch with her anymore. The social worker said it would only be for a little while until they found our aunt in Bristol, but I don't think they're looking very hard. Ryan felt something tighten in his chest. The girl was in a children's home away from her family, and yet she managed to maintain that energy, that ability to make others smile. And what's it like there at the home? Do they treat you well? Lily's face clouded over a little. It's all right. There's food, there's a bed, but the director, Mrs. Evans, doesn't like it when we make noise. And Eddie makes a lot of noise, she said with a small smile. He's only 5, you know. And he misses our mum a lot. Sometimes he cries at night, and then I have to tell him stories to help him sleep. Ryan tried to imagine the scene, the 7-year-old girl comforting her younger brother, making up stories to ease the pain of a mother's absence. But there's something that's worrying me, Lily continued now in a low voice. I heard Mrs. Evans talking to some woman who visited, saying that Eddie would be transferred to another home, one more suited to his case. I don't know what that means, but I don't want to be away from my brother. He needs me. The genuine concern in the girl's voice touched Ryan deeply. Without much thought, he made a promise. I'm going to help you, Lily. I don't know exactly how yet, but I'll do everything I can to make sure you and your brother stay together, okay? Lily stared at him with a mixture of hope and suspicion. Why? Why do you want to help us? You don't even know us. Ryan reflected for a moment. Why indeed was he getting involved in the story of 2 unknown children? The answer came with a clarity that surprised him. Because you made me laugh when I thought I'd never be able to again, and because somehow you and your brother deserve better than what you're getting now. Their eyes met, and something silent was established between them. A fragile but significant trust. "Can you take me to see the home tomorrow?" Ryan asked. Lily hesitated, then nodded slowly. "I can, but you have to promise you won't tell them we know each other. If they find out I come to the city center on my own, they'll ground me for weeks." "I promise. I'll pretend I'm visiting the home as a potential donor," Ryan assured her. The next day, Ryan cancelled 2 important meetings to visit Rainbow House Children's Home. Located in a large old house in the Salford area, the place looked clean and organized from the outside, but it lacked life. The walls needed painting, the garden was poorly maintained, and the windows with their curtains always drawn gave the place an atmosphere of silent neglect. At the reception, he introduced himself as a businessman, interested in learning about social projects for potential donations. He was greeted with a calculated smile by Marcia Evans, a middle-aged woman with her hair in a severe bun and eyes that seemed to be constantly assessing. "It's always a pleasure to welcome people from the business community," she said, leading him through the home. "As you can imagine, our resources are limited, and any help is more than welcome." Ryan observed carefully as he was led through different rooms. There were indeed enough beds in the bedrooms, toys, albeit warm in the common areas, and basic food in the kitchen, but there was also a strange silence hanging in the air, a rehearsed way the staff spoke, and above all, a dull look in the eyes of the children they encountered along the way. "And how many children are you currently housing here?" Ryan asked, trying to sound casually interested. 23, Marcia replied. "Some are in the process of being adopted, others are awaiting family reunification. Every case is different." "It must be difficult to manage so many different stories," Ryan commented, discreetly looking for Lily or her brother among the children he saw. "It's a job that requires, let's say, pragmatism," Marcia replied with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Some children have more specific needs and have to be referred to better-equipped partner institutions. We do what we can with what we have." It was then that Ryan saw Lily, sitting in a corner of the study room, pretending to read a book, but clearly aware of his presence. As agreed, he didn't acknowledge her. His eyes, however, searched for her brother. "Do all the children study here, or do they go to local schools?" he asked, trying to probe for more information. "Those with the cognitive ability attend local state schools," Marcia explained. "The others receive specialized support right here." "And who determines this? Cognitive ability?" Marcia shot him a slightly annoyed look. "We have a multidisciplinary team that assesses each child. Now, if you'll excuse me, Mr. Mitchell, I'd like to show you our computer room, which is unfortunately in dire need of an upgrade." The rest of the visit was a transparent attempt by Marcia to impress him with the home's needs, while deflecting any more direct questions about procedures or specific children. When Ryan asked if he could meet some more of the children personally, she politely refused, claiming that many have trauma and don't react well to strangers. At the end of the visit, Ryan left a card with his contact details, promising to consider a donation. On the way back to the company, he called his assistant, Caroline. "Caroline, I need you to research everything you can on the Rainbow House Children's Home in Salford. Records, complaints, lawsuits, anything. And also on the director, Marcia Evans." "Any specific reason, Mr. Mitchell?" Caroline asked, accustomed to unusual requests from her boss, but never of this kind. "A business hunch," he replied, without elaborating. "I need it yesterday." That night, Ryan couldn't sleep. The image of Lily sitting alone in that corner, the strange silence of the children, Marcia's evasiveness, it all swirled in his mind. There was something wrong with that place, he could feel it, and for the first time in a long time, he felt he needed to do something about it, that he needed to care about something beyond his own pain. The next day, he met Lily at their usual spot. She looked anxious. "So, what did you think?" she asked as soon as they sat on a bench in the square. "I didn't get to see your brother," Ryan said. Lily's face contorted with worry. "He didn't leave his room yesterday. They said he had a fever, but I think it's a lie. Mrs. Evans doesn't like showing Eddie to visitors because he talks too much. He says things she claims are lies, but they're not." "What kind of things, Lily?" The girl looked around as if afraid of being overheard, then whispered, "About the children who disappear. There are lots of them we never see again. They say they were adopted, but there's never a leaving party. They never let us say goodbye. And some of them are like Eddie, What do you mean, like Eddie? The ones they say have problems. That they're not normal. But Eddie is normal. He just has nightmares, he just cries sometimes. He just gets nervous when he's scared. That's normal, isn't it? Ryan felt a knot in his stomach. Of course it is, Lily, it's completely normal. Listen, I need you to tell me everything you know about these children who disappear, as you put it. Lily nervously fiddled with the hem of her t-shirt. I have a little notebook, she confessed, where I write down the names and dates. I heard Mrs. Evans's assistant talking about shipments, New Hope, things like that. And the older kids say that anyone whose name is on her computer never comes back. Can you bring that notebook tomorrow? Ryan asked, feeling they were onto something important. I can try, but I'm scared they'll find out. They go through our things sometimes when we're at school. Hide it well then. It's very important, Lily. It could be the key to helping you and your brother understand. The girl nodded solemnly. I'll bring it. Tomorrow, same time. Same time, Ryan confirmed. And Lily, be careful, okay? After the girl left, Ryan drove straight to his office. Caroline was already waiting for him with a preliminary report on Rainbow House. I didn't find much, boss, she said, handing him a folder. The home has been operating for 8 years, has all its certifications in order, looks legitimate on paper. The director, Marcia Evans, has a background in social work and administration, no prior record of any issues. But there are records of a few complaints filed with social services, nothing that went anywhere. Always shelved for lack of evidence or unconfirmed anonymous tip-off. And there's one interesting thing. The home receives regular donations from an international NGO called New Hope Global. What does this NGO do exactly? Caroline frowned. That's the strange part. I couldn't find much concrete information about their activities. Their website talks about creating opportunities for vulnerable children around the world, but it's all very vague. It's headquartered in Switzerland, with branches in several countries, including the UK. Ryan thought for a moment, connecting what Caroline had discovered with what Lily had mentioned. Caroline, I need you to hire someone discreet, trustworthy, with experience in investigations. What kind of investigation are we talking about, Mr. Mitchell? Caroline asked, now visibly concerned. Ryan hesitated, realizing he would need to trust his assistant if he wanted to move forward. I think there's something very wrong happening at that home, Caroline. Something to do with children being transferred irregularly. I don't know exactly what yet, but I need to find out. Caroline watched him intently, as if trying to gauge his seriousness. This is unusual, boss. Do you want to tell me how you got involved in this? Ryan thought of Lily, of her smile, her courage, of how she had somehow rekindled something inside him that he thought was lost forever after Beatrice's passing. Let's just say, I found a reason to care again, he replied simply. Can you help me with this? Caroline nodded without further questions. I know someone. A former police detective, now a private investigator. Rebecca Hughes. Discreet, efficient, and above all ethical. If there's something to uncover, she'll uncover it. Hire her today. That night, as he watched the city lights from his high-rise apartment, Ryan realized that for the first time in over a year, he wasn't thinking about the void left by Beatrice. Instead, he was filled with a new determination to find out what was happening at Rainbow House and to help Lily and her brother, whatever the cost. The day dawned overcast in Manchester, with that fine drizzle that felt more like a persistent mist. Ryan woke before his alarm clock went off, a rarity since Beatrice had passed. He felt an anxiety he hadn't experienced in a long time, not the paralyzing anxiety that consumed him in the first months of her absence, but a productive anxiety, driven by purpose. Rebecca Hughes arrived punctually at Ryan's office at 8 a.m., as arranged. She was a woman in her early 40s, with impeccable posture, an analytical gaze, and a direct way of speaking that Ryan immediately appreciated. Caroline made the introductions and withdrew, leaving them alone to discuss the case. Your assistant only gave me the basics, Rebecca began, opening a small notebook. You suspect irregularities at a children's home called Rainbow House. I need you to tell me exactly what led to this suspicion and what you expect me to find. Ryan hesitated for a moment. The story of how he met Lily felt too personal, almost intimate. I met one of the children from the home, he said finally, opting for honesty. A girl named Lily O'Connell, 7 years old. She told me things. Concerning things about how the place is run, about children who disappear without proper explanation, supposedly adopted or transferred. Rebecca made a few notes, showing no judgment. How did you meet this child? From what I know, homes have strict rules about interaction with outsiders. It was a chance meeting. She tends to slip out of the home some afternoons. We developed a friendship, you could say. Rebecca raised an eyebrow but remained professional. I see. And what exactly did the girl report that concerned you? Ryan shared everything he had discovered. The conversations with Lily, his visit to the home, the strange atmosphere of the place, the concern for her brother Edward, nicknamed Eddie, and the mention of the notebook with her jottings. So your primary source is a 7-year-old child, Rebecca concluded, thoughtfully. I know it sounds flimsy, Ryan admitted. That's why I need your help. If there's nothing to it, I'll be relieved. But if there is, if children are being mistreated or worse, you don't need to justify it, Rebecca interrupted. I worked on cases involving children when I was on the force. If there's even a small possibility that something is wrong, it's worth investigating. She closed her notebook and looked directly at Ryan. I'll need a few days for a preliminary investigation. I'll check public records, talk to former employees if I can locate them, observe the home's routine. In the meantime, continue your meetings with the girl, but be cautious. If something illegal is happening, we don't want to alert those responsible. Ryan nodded, feeling simultaneously relieved to have someone competent helping and apprehensive about what they might discover. Late that afternoon, Ryan met Lily again at their usual spot. The girl seemed more nervous than usual, constantly glancing around. Did you manage to bring the notebook? He asked after they bought hot chocolates to ward off the afternoon chill. Lily nodded, pulling a small worn notebook with a faded teddy bear cover from inside her coat. I had to hide it at the back of the girls' bathroom, she explained. Auntie Susan almost caught me when I went to get it. Ryan carefully leafed through the notebook. On the pages, in the uneven handwriting of a child trying to be meticulous, were names, dates, and short notes like Leaving Thursday, New Hope, Special for Adoption. Some names had asterisks next to them. What do the asterisks mean, Lily? They're the children like Eddie, she replied, lowering her voice. The ones they say have special needs. Most of them leave faster. A chill ran down Ryan's spine. And your brother? Is his name in here? Lily turned a few pages until she was near the end of the notebook. There it was, written in large letters. Edward O'Connell, prep for transfer, 1507. That's a week from now, Ryan said, checking the date on his phone. Yes, Lily confirmed, her eyes welling up. I heard Mrs. Evans say he's going to a place more suited to his needs. I tried to ask where this place is, but no one will give me a straight answer. I'm scared, Mr. Mitchell. Scared I'll never see Eddie again. Ryan held Lily's small hand, feeling a determination grow inside him. That's not going to happen, Lily. I promise you. I'm doing everything I can to find out what's going on and to make sure you and your brother stay together. Are they going to let you adopt us? She asked, with an innocent hope that nearly broke Ryan's heart. The question caught him by surprise. He hadn't thought that far ahead. He was focused on uncovering what was happening at the home, on stopping Edward from being taken, but he hadn't considered what would happen afterwards. Let's take it one step at a time. Lily, he said, using the name she preferred. First, we need to make sure your brother is safe. Then, we can talk about the future, okay? Lily nodded, seeming to understand the complexity of the situation despite her young age. I need you to tell me more about your brother, Ryan requested. Why do they say he has special needs? Because he cries a lot at night. He has nightmares, calls for our mum. And sometimes when he gets really nervous, he screams and hides under the bed. Mrs. Evans says he has a disorder because of what happened to us before we came to the home. And what happened before you came to the home, Lily? Ryan asked carefully. The girl's face shut down and she looked away. I don't like talking about it. That's okay. You don't have to if you don't want to. But if you ever feel like you want to tell me, I'm here to listen, okay? Lily agreed silently. Ryan handed the notebook back to her. I need to take pictures of these pages, Lily, may I? It's to show a friend who's helping me understand what's happening at the home. You can, but I need to take it back afterwards. If they find out, they won't find out, Ryan assured her, quickly photographing each page with his phone. "Be careful when you put it back. And don't mention our conversations to anyone, not even the other children, okay?" After they said their goodbyes, Ryan sent the photos to Rebecca with an urgent message. "We need to act fast. Lily's brother is scheduled for transfer in 1 week." 2 days later, Rebecca requested an urgent meeting. They met at a discreet cafe in Didsbury, far from both Ryan's company and the children's home. "I've found a few things," Rebecca said, after checking that no one was close enough to overhear. "The NGO New Hope Global has been investigated in Europe on suspicion of facilitating irregular international adoptions. Nothing proven yet, but there's enough to raise red flags." "Irregular international adoptions," Ryan repeated, feeling the gravity of the situation. "Exactly. And I found out more. 3 homes in the UK that received regular donations from this same NGO have had similar complaints over the last 5 years. Children, especially those considered hard to place in the national system, due to age, having siblings or health conditions, mysteriously disappeared, supposedly transferred to specialized institutions. And what happened to these children?" Rebecca took a sip of her coffee, as if needing the pause to organize her thoughts. In some cases, nothing illicit. They were indeed international adoptions, but they circumvented legal procedures, which is serious enough on its own. In other cases, she hesitated, there are suspicions of more disturbing situations, involving document forgery and even child trafficking. Ryan felt as if the air had been sucked from his lungs. Trafficking? For what? Beremisiuwais, for various purposes. Legal adoptions abroad mainly. Families who couldn't adopt through regular channels pay considerable sums to get access to British children. It's a lucrative market. Ryan ran his hands through his hair, trying to process the information. And Rainbow House? Did you find anything specific about them? I'm still investigating, but there are worrying patterns. In the last 3 years, 27 children were transferred from Rainbow House to other institutions, supposedly for specialized care. Of these, I haven't been able to trace the whereabouts of 17. No records in other homes, no formal adoption documentation. "My God," Ryan murmured. "I need more time to build a solid case," Rebecca continued. "But from what the girl showed in that notebook, and what I've discovered so far, I believe there are real grounds for concern. And if her brother is marked for transfer in 5 days, we need to decide how to act." "What are our options?" Ryan asked, feeling simultaneously horrified and determined. "We could take what we have to the authorities right now. Social services, the Crown Prosecution Service, the police. But honestly, without more concrete evidence, we risk being ignored or worse, alerting those involved, who might accelerate their plans or destroy evidence. So, what do you suggest?" "We need more information from inside the home. Documents, staff testimonies, something that proves what we suspect. If we can get that, we can build a case strong enough to force a serious investigation." Ryan thought for a moment. "What about a court hearing? Could we try to get temporary custody of the children? Get them out of there?" Rebecca shook her head. "Without concrete evidence of abuse or imminent danger, it would be very difficult, especially for someone with no family relation to the children. The system favors keeping them in registered institutions until a risk is proven." "What if I—" Ryan hesitated, the idea forming as he spoke. "What if I started adoption proceedings? Legitimate, through all the proper channels?" Rebecca studied him with interest. "That would raise fewer suspicions, but it would still take time. You'd have to go through psychological evaluations, home visits, the whole legal process. And there's no guarantee you'd be matched with these specific children. But it could give me more regular access to the home, right? As a potential adopter, yes, it would. And it would be a less confrontational approach initially. We could use that time to continue investigating." Ryan made his decision. "I'll do it then. I'll find a solicitor specializing in adoption tomorrow. In the meantime, continue your investigation, but with maximum discretion. We can't risk them doing something to Edward before we have a solid plan." Rebecca nodded, seeming to approve of the decision. "Are you sure about this, Mr. Mitchell? Filing for adoption is a serious commitment, not just a ploy for an investigation." Ryan thought of Lily, of her brave smile, of how she looked after her younger brother despite being just a child herself. He thought of the emptiness of his apartment, the silence that had accompanied him since Beatrice's passing. Something was changing inside him, something he didn't fully understand himself yet. I'm sure it's the right thing to do. The next day, Ryan sought out Mr. Michael Bowen, a renowned solicitor in Manchester in the field of family law and adoption. After explaining his situation, omitting the suspicions about the home for now, Ryan received clear guidance on the process. Adoption is a beautiful but complex path, Mr. Mitchell, the solicitor explained, especially for a single man wishing to adopt 2 children. It's not impossible, but you will need to demonstrate emotional and financial stability, as well as pass several assessments. I'm prepared for that, Ryan affirmed. There's also the matter of preference for families already on the adoption register. Many people wait years for a child. I understand, but these specific children, I have a connection with them. The girl, Lily, was like a ray of light when I was at my darkest. And her brother deserves a chance. Mr. Bowen observed him with interest. Your motivation seems genuine, and that counts for a lot. Let's start the process then. Prepare for bureaucracy, interviews, home visits, and a great deal of patience. Ryan left the solicitor's office with a mix of anxiety and determination. He was embarking on a journey he had never imagined for himself, but one that somehow felt strangely right. In the afternoon, he met Lily again. The girl seemed even more agitated than in previous days. Eddie didn't go to school today, she said as soon as they sat down. Auntie Susan said he was having tests, but she didn't explain what kind of tests. I'm afraid they're already getting ready to take him away. Ryan felt a tightness in his chest. Time was running out faster than they had expected. Lily, I need to tell you something. Today I started the process to possibly adopt you and your brother. The girl's eyes widened, a mixture of hope and disbelief. Really? Are you going to be our dad? The word dad hit Ryan like a punch. He had never pictured himself as a father, not even in the happy times with Beatrice. It's a long process, he explained carefully. I can't promise it will work out, but I'm doing everything I can. The idea is to make sure you two stay together and safe. And will we live in that huge flat you told me about? Ryan smiled at the memory. In one of their meetings, he had described where he lived to Lily, and she had been amazed by the idea of a flat that took up an entire floor. If everything works out, yes. But the most important thing now is to make sure your brother isn't transferred before we have a chance. I need you to help me with something. What? Lily asked, eager to cooperate. In the next few days, I'm going to visit the home officially as someone interested in adoption. We're going to pretend we don't know each other, okay? It's very important. If anyone finds out we've been meeting, it could complicate everything. Lily nodded seriously. I'm good at pretending. No one will find out. Great, and if you can, try to find out more about these tests your brother is having. Where he goes, who takes him, any information could help. I'll try. Auntie Susan sometimes lets things slip when she thinks we're not paying attention. Ryan hesitated, then decided to ask something that had been bothering him. Lily, you said before that your mum had to go away to get treatment for an illness abroad. Can you tell me more about that? The girl's expression clouded over again, as it always did when the subject of her past came up. She got very sick. The doctors here couldn't treat it. She went to another country to try a new treatment, said she'd be back soon, but we never heard from her again. There was something in the story that didn't sound complete, but Ryan decided not to press. Whatever the truth about Lily's mother, the important thing now was to ensure the children's safety. I see. Well, I'm going to do everything I can to help you and your brother, okay? Trust me. In the following days, Ryan, now officially registered as a prospective adopter, managed to schedule a new visit to Rainbow House. This time, he was received not only by Marcia, but also by a social worker named Denise, apparently assigned to his case. It's unusual for a single man to seek adoption, Denise commented as they walked through the home's yard, especially after a recent loss. Forgive me for being direct, but we need to carefully assess the motivations of each candidate. I understand perfectly, Ryan replied, remaining calm. My wife and I always discussed the possibility of adoption, even before she passed. Now I feel it's a path I can follow on my own. And why this home specifically? Marcia asked, with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. There are several in the county, some with more streamlined adoption processes. I heard good things about your work, Ryan lied smoothly, and I believe in the importance of visiting different institutions, before making such a significant decision. During the visit, Ryan managed to see more children than the first time, including, finally, Edward. The boy was sitting alone in a corner of the yard, distractedly playing with some building blocks. He was small for his age, with dark hair like his sister's and large, expressive eyes that seemed to carry a sadness incompatible with his 5 years. Ryan felt an immediate connection, an almost physical urge to protect that child. He looked for Lily and found her on the other side of the yard, pretending not to pay attention to him but clearly watching everything. She kept their agreement, showing no sign of recognition. "That little boy seems a bit isolated," Ryan commented, gesturing discreetly towards Edward. Marcia and Denise exchanged a quick glance. "Edward has some difficulties with adjustment," Denise explained, choosing her words carefully. "He's been with us for almost a year, but still exhibits challenging behaviors. We are assessing the possibility of transferring him to an institution with more suitable psychological support." "And his sister?" "That girl over there is his sister, isn't she?" Ryan asked, pretending to have just noticed the physical resemblance. "Yes, Lily," Marcia confirmed, a slight tension in her voice. "Unfortunately, we can't always keep siblings together when one of them has needs we cannot fully meet here." "That must be hard for them," Ryan commented, trying not to show the anger he felt growing inside him. "Children are surprisingly resilient," Marcia replied with a cold smile. "And sometimes separation is for the best. It allows each one to receive exactly the kind of care they need." At the end of the visit, Ryan was informed that his details would be reviewed and that he would be contacted to continue the adopter approval process. On his way home, he immediately called Rebecca. "Time is running out," he said as soon as she answered. "I'm absolutely certain they're accelerating their plans to transfer Edward. We need to move faster." "I've got some new information," Rebecca replied. "A former employee of the home agreed to speak with me anonymously. She confirms there's a pattern of children being transferred under suspicious circumstances. She said the transfers usually happen at night, with minimal paperwork and without advance notice to the other children or regular staff." "That matches what Lily mentioned," Ryan observed. "How long do you think we need to gather enough evidence for legal action?" "With what we have now and what I hope to get in the next few days, maybe a week." Ryan felt a knot in his stomach. That could be too late. The date marked for Edward's transfer is the day after tomorrow. There was a moment of silence on the other end of the line. "Then we need to consider more immediate measures," Rebecca said finally. "I'm going to contact a trusted detective inspector from the Child Protection Unit. No promises, but we might be able to get a warrant to search and seize documents at the home before the scheduled transfer date. And if we can't?" The question hung in the air for a few seconds. "Then we'll have to resort to Plan B," Rebecca replied without elaborating. When he hung up, Ryan realized he was entering unknown territory, where the normal rules of his orderly, predictable life no longer applied. But he knew with a certainty that came from the depths of his soul that he could not back down now. Lily with her brave smile and Edward with his sad eyes had become in some way his responsibility, and he would do anything to protect them. Night was falling over Manchester when Ryan's phone rang. It was Lily, using the burner phone he had discreetly given her days earlier for emergencies. His heart raced as he answered. "Mr. Mitchell," the girl's voice was an urgent whisper. "They're taking Eddie tomorrow. I heard Mrs. Evans talking to someone on the phone. It's going to be during the night when all the other kids are asleep." Ryan's blood ran cold. It was a day earlier than noted in Lily's notebook. "Are you sure, Lily?" "I'm sure." She said the shipment confirmation had arrived and that everything is ready for the transfer. And Eddie was taken for more tests today. He came back strange, too quiet. I think they gave him some medicine. Where are you now? Can anyone hear you? And I'm in the bathroom. I've locked the door. No one knows about the phone. I hid it well, like you taught. Fairty, Ryan tried to keep his voice calm, though he felt a whirlwind of emotions. Listen, Lily, I'm going to sort this out. I promise. But I need you to be very brave and careful until tomorrow. Don't let anyone know you know anything. Pretend everything is normal, understand? I understand, the girl replied with a maturity that broke Ryan's heart. But what if they take Eddie before you can do anything? That's not going to happen, Ryan affirmed with more confidence than he felt. Trust me. As soon as he hung up, Ryan called Rebecca. Within minutes, the two of them and Caroline were gathered in his apartment, planning their next steps. D.I. MacDonald hasn't managed to get the warrant yet, Rebecca reported, clearly frustrated. Without more compelling evidence, the judge is reluctant. Then we'll have to act on our own, Ryan declared, running his hands nervously through his hair. I can't let that boy be taken. What exactly are you suggesting? Rebecca asked with professional caution. Ryan took a deep breath. Knowing that what he was about to propose could have serious consequences, I need to get the children out of there. Tonight. Both Rebecca and Caroline stared at him with shocked expressions. Ryan, that would be abduction, Caroline pointed out, using his first name for the first time in years of working together. No matter your intentions, legally it would be a crime. And letting children be trafficked isn't, Ryan retorted, his voice rising. We're talking about lives here, Caroline. If we wait for the system, it could be too late. Rebecca intervened, always the voice of reason. I understand your frustration, but we need to be strategic. One false move could ruin any chance of helping not just Lily and Edward, but all the other children potentially at risk in that place. Ryan stood up, pacing restlessly around the living room. So what do you suggest? Because I'm not just going to sit here waiting while they take that boy. Rebecca thought for a moment, then turned to Caroline. That journalist friend of yours, the one who works at the City Chronicle, does he still owe you that favor? Caroline nodded, understanding immediately. Mark Sterling. And yes, he owes me a big one. A strategic leak to the press, Rebecca explained, turning back to Ryan. Not enough detail to compromise the investigation, but enough to create public pressure and make any suspicious movements at the home difficult in the next 24 hours. That would give the DI time to get the warrant, Caroline added. And if it doesn't work? Ryan insisted. Then we resort to Plan C, Rebecca replied, surprising the other two. I have some contacts at the National Crime Agency. There's a larger investigation underway into human trafficking networks that might encompass this case. If we can connect the dots quickly, we could see a coordinated operation before dawn. Ryan felt a spark of hope. What do you need from me? Everything you have on the NGO New Hope Global. Any document, email, mention you saw during your visit to the home. And I need you to contact your adoption solicitor. Ask about any history of international adoptions brokered by this NGO. While Ryan made the necessary calls, Caroline was already on the phone with Mark Sterling, and Rebecca was working furiously on her laptop, connecting information and preparing a dossier for her NCA contacts. The night wore on, and the tension in the apartment was palpable. Around 10 p.m., the first result of their efforts appeared, a breaking news story on the City Chronicle's website, with the headline "Exclusive Manchester Children's Homes Under Suspicion of Adoption Irregularities." The article by Mark Sterling mentioned anonymous complaints about irregular procedures in homes in the region, with a special focus on Rainbow House, and cited international investigations involving the NGO New Hope Global. Half an hour later, Ryan's phone rang. It was Detective Inspector Helen MacDonald. Mr. Mitchell, I believe we have aligned interests, she said without preamble. We've received the search and seizure warrant for Rainbow House. The operation is scheduled for 5 a.m. But that could be too late, Ryan protested. We have information that a child is being transferred tonight. I'm aware of that, MacDonald replied in a tone that suggested she knew more than she was letting on. Let's just say the home will be under discreet surveillance from now on. No child will leave that place without us knowing. When he hung up, Ryan felt a momentary relief. Maybe there was a chance, after all. At 11:30 p.m., the emergency phone rang again. It was Lily, her voice even quieter and more urgent than before. Mr. Mitchell, there are strange people here. 2 men I've never seen before. They're with Mrs. Evans in her office. And Eddie's not in his bed. Ryan's heart pounded. What do you mean he's not in his bed? Where could he be? I don't know. I've looked everywhere. Auntie Susan said he was taking medicine to sleep, and she put him to bed. But when I went to check just now, he's not there. Ryan covered the phone and quickly updated Rebecca and Caroline on the situation. They might have already moved him somewhere inside the home, preparing for his departure, Rebecca suggested, immediately grabbing her keys. I'm heading there now. I'll call the DI on the way. I'm going with you, Ryan declared. It's too risky, Caroline argued. If they see you there, they might suspect something. I don't care. I promised that girl I would protect her brother. I'm not staying here. Ryan returned to the phone with Lily. We're on our way, Lily, but I need you to do something very important. Find a safe place to hide and stay there until I arrive. Don't confront anyone. Don't let anyone know you've noticed your brother is gone. Can you do that? I can, she replied, her voice trembling. There's a broom cupboard in the second-floor hallway that nobody uses. I can hide in there and still see the door to Mrs. Evans's office. Perfect. We're coming. Be brave. During the drive to Salford, Rebecca drove in tense silence while making calls. Ryan tried to control his anxiety, constantly glancing at the dashboard clock. Every minute felt like an eternity. When they neared the home, Rebecca parked discreetly a block away. The DI confirmed there are plainclothes officers watching the place, she reported. But the entry order is only authorized for 5 a.m., unless there's clear evidence of a crime in progress. What if we say a child is missing? Fail to notice, we'd need more than the word of another child. Lily could be mistaken. Ryan took a deep breath, trying to organize his thoughts. What if I went in as a visitor? Technically, I'm still a prospective adopter. I could claim I had an emergency, something like that. At 11:30 at night, it would be highly suspicious. Then what do you suggest? That we just sit here while that boy might be getting prepared to be taken who knows where. Rebecca seemed about to answer when her phone rang. After a brief conversation, her face lit up. We have a break. One of the plainclothes officers has spotted suspicious movement at the back of the home. People carrying what looks like a large holdall into an unmarked van. The DI is on her way with backup, but it will take at least 20 minutes. Ryan didn't think twice. He got out of the car and started walking quickly towards the home. What are you doing? Rebecca hissed, following him. I can't wait. I need to at least make sure Lily is safe. Ryan, this is madness, but he was already determined. As they approached the home, they could see a white van parked near the back gate. Two figures moved in the gloom, loading something into the vehicle. That's them, Ryan murmured. They're taking Edward. Rebecca quickly took out her phone and started filming discreetly, while simultaneously making a call. D.I. MacDonald. Rebecca Hughes. We are observing suspicious activity at the rear of Rainbow House right now. I'm sending video. There's a white van registration. She zoomed in to capture the vehicle's number plate. Ryan, however, could wait no longer. Taking advantage of the men's distraction as they adjusted something inside the van, he moved quickly to the back of the home. There was a service door left ajar, probably used by them to transport whatever they were carrying. Silently, Ryan slipped inside. He found himself in a laundry area, dark and quiet at that hour. Orienting himself by the memory of his previous visits, he moved towards the interior of the building. The home was silent, with only a few emergency lights illuminating the corridors. Ryan climbed the stairs to the second floor, where Lily had said she would hide. Moving as quietly as possible, he reached the hallway she had mentioned. "Lily," he whispered near the broom cupboard. The door opened slightly and the girl's apprehensive face appeared. "Mr. Mitchell," she exclaimed in a whisper. "You really came?" Of course I did. Where is the director's office?" "End of the hall on the right. There's a light on inside. I heard voices." Ryan took Lily's hand. "First, let's find a safe place for you, then I'll look for your brother." "No," Lily protested. "I'm not going without Eddie. He needs me." Before Ryan could reply, they heard footsteps approaching. Quickly, he pulled Lily into the cupboard with him, closing the door as much as possible without making a sound. Through the small crack, they could see Marcia hurrying down the corridor, followed by a woman Ryan didn't recognize. They were talking in low, tense voices. "They're asking for more documentation," the unknown woman was saying. "Anything you want to." Buyer is getting nervous with the delay. "Tell them it's all under control," Marcia replied. "As soon as the boy is at the airport, I'll send the rest of the papers. The forgers need a few more hours. And the sister? She's going to cause trouble. She's already suspicious. We'll deal with her later, one transfer at a time. She's less valuable on the market anyway. Too old, too aware." Ryan felt Lily's hand squeeze his tightly, and he saw silent tears streaming down the girl's face. Marcia's cruel words confirmed their worst fears. When the women disappeared into the office, Ryan carefully stepped out of the hiding place, still holding Lily's hand. "We need to find your brother fast," he whispered. "Do you have any idea where they might have put him?" "Maybe in the sick bay," Lily suggested. "That's where they give the medicine to make the kids sleep when they're being transferred." "Where is it?" "First floor near the kitchen." Silently, they moved towards the stairs. Adrenaline coursed through Ryan's veins, sharpening his senses. Every sound, every shadow seemed amplified in that moment of extreme tension. The sick bay was dark and seemingly empty when they arrived. Ryan used his phone's torch to light the room, careful to partially cover it with his hand to dim the glow. "He's not here," Lily whispered, after they checked every corner of the small space. "Maybe they've already taken him to the van," Ryan suggested, feeling desperation grow. "We need to go to the back of the home." On the way, however, they heard the sounds of an argument coming from the entrance hall. Raised voices, hurried footsteps. Ryan recognized the voice of D.I. MacDonald. "Police! All staff are to report to the main hall immediately. We have a search and seizure warrant." The operation had been moved up. Ryan felt a mix of relief and concern. If the police were here, the chances of Edward being taken away were drastically reduced. On the other hand, the chaos of the raid could make it harder to find the boy. "Let's go to the back," Ryan decided. If he was being prepared for transport, he must be near the exit. Lily nodded, and together they moved carefully towards the service area where Ryan had entered. On their way, however, they were surprised by one of the men they had seen earlier, carrying what looked like a large travel holdall. The man stopped upon seeing them, clearly surprised. "Who are you?" "What are you doing here?" he demanded, dropping the bag and advancing towards Ryan. Ryan pushed Lily behind him, protecting her. "I'm Ryan Mitchell, a prospective adopter. I was concerned about information I received regarding this home and came to check on things myself." "In the middle of the night? Do you think I'm an idiot?" The man took another threatening step forward. At that moment, the bag he had dropped moved slightly and a muffled groan came from inside. Lily's eyes widened. "It's Eddie!" she shouted, running towards the bag before Ryan could stop her. The man tried to grab her, but Ryan was faster, putting himself between them. There was a brief struggle, with the man trying to push Ryan aside. In a quick move, Ryan managed to unbalance him, causing him to fall. Lily was already unzipping the holdall, revealing Edward, apparently sedated but breathing. "He's alive!" she exclaimed with tears of relief. The man got up, furious, and looked ready to attack again when voices and lights approached rapidly down the corridor. "Police!" "Freeze!" D.I. MacDonald appeared, flanked by 2 officers, all with their weapons drawn. The man froze, realizing he was cornered. "Mr. Mitchell," MacDonald said, clearly surprised to see him there. "What are you doing here?" "Saving a child from being trafficked," he replied, indicating the holdall where Edward was. One of the officers immediately moved to check, while the other handcuffed the suspect. "We need an ambulance," MacDonald instructed upon seeing the boy's condition. Then, turning to Ryan and Lily, "You two need to come with me. There's a lot to explain." The following hours were a whirlwind of activity. Rainbow House was completely taken over by the police. Marcia and several other staff members were taken into custody. Edward was taken to the nearest hospital, with Lily insisting on staying by her brother's side. Ryan spent hours giving a statement, explaining how he met Lily, his suspicions about the home, the investigation conducted with Rebecca's help, everything. Technically, he had trespassed and could face charges, but the extraordinary circumstances and the outcome of the police operation weighed in his favor. It was almost dawn when he was finally able to go to the hospital. He found Lily asleep in a chair beside Edward's bed, who was also sleeping, now under proper medical care. Rebecca was there too, talking in a low voice with a social worker. "How are they?" Ryan asked, approaching quietly so as not to wake the children. "Edward is fine," Rebecca replied. "The doctors say he was sedated with a relatively safe drug, but an unnecessary one for a healthy child. He should wake up in the next few hours with no significant side effects." "And what will happen to them now?" The social worker, a middle-aged woman with a kind expression, turned to Ryan. "For now, they will remain in the care of the state while we investigate if there are any relatives who can take them in. The situation with their mother is still a mystery. According to the home's records, she abandoned them, But with everything we've discovered about document forgery, we need to verify that information. And if there are no relatives, then they will enter the National Adoption Register, she replied. But I must warn you, Mr. Mitchell, that even with your adoption process underway, there's no guarantee they will be placed with you. The system prioritizes couples, and there's the fact that your initial motivation for adoption arose in a less than conventional manner. Ryan looked at the sleeping children. Lily, even in her sleep, kept a protective hand on her brother's arm. In just a few days, these two small lives had completely changed his perspective, had given him something he hadn't had for over a year, a purpose. "I'll do whatever it takes," he stated, with calm determination, "whether it's waiting in line or proving my capability as a single father. Those children deserve stability, and I need them as much as they need me." Rebecca observed her friend with a new respect. "I never thought I'd see the day Ryan Mitchell, the ruthless businessman, would risk everything for two children he barely knows." Ryan smiled faintly. "Neither did I. But then a little girl made me a bet. If she could make me laugh, I'd buy her a pizza." And here we are. At that moment, Lily opened her eyes, looking momentarily disoriented. Upon seeing Ryan, however, her face lit up with an exhausted but genuine smile. "You're here," she said, her voice hoarse with sleep. "I'm here," Ryan confirmed, moving closer and sitting beside her. "And I'm not going anywhere." The girl looked at her brother, still asleep, and then back at Ryan. "Promise." "I promise, Lily. Whatever path we have to walk from here on, we'll walk it together." Rebecca and the social worker discreetly moved away, leaving Ryan with the children. Outside the room, D.I. MacDonald approached them. "We have an update," she informed them in a low voice. "The operation has expanded to other homes. We've already identified at least 5 children who were transferred through the same scheme in the last year. 2 of them have been located in an Eastern European country, in the process of international adoption by a German family. The network is bigger than we imagined." "And what about the children's mother?" Rebecca asked. "Lily mentioned she had gone abroad for medical treatment." MacDonald shook her head. "Still investigating, but the documents found in Marsha's office suggest that story was fabricated. There are indications that the mother may have been the victim of some kind of fraud as well, possibly involving the same network. We're following every lead." Inside the room, oblivious to this conversation, Ryan held Lily's hand as she finally relaxed enough to fall asleep again. Looking at the faces of the 2 children, he allowed himself to feel something he hadn't felt in a long time: hope. Not just for them, but for himself as well. "Thank you for making me laugh that day, Lily," he whispered, using the name she had mentioned at their first meeting. "You have no idea how you changed my life with that simple bet." And as the sun began to rise outside, gradually illuminating the hospital room, Ryan Mitchell knew with a deep and unshakable certainty that this was not an ending but a beginning. The beginning of something he had never expected to find, especially in such unlikely circumstances: a family. Edward, initially more hesitant, watched the scene from a few steps away. He had been very young when the separation occurred, and his memories of his mother were more impressions than concrete recollections. Fiona, still embracing Lily, extended an arm towards her son. "Eddie," she called, her voice thick with emotion. "My little one." The boy glanced briefly at Ryan as if seeking confirmation. With an encouraging smile and a slight nod, Ryan urged him forward. That was all it took for Edward. The boy ran into his mother's arms, and the 3 of them remained like that for a long time, an embrace that tried to reclaim months of absence. Ryan watched the scene from a respectful distance, feeling a complex mix of emotions. There was genuine joy at seeing this family reunited, but also a pang of loss as he realized the future he had imagined for himself was now taking a different turn. Patricia, the social worker, approached him discreetly. "I know this must be difficult," she commented kindly, "but you did the right thing." A rare thing. Ryan nodded silently. The following days were a period of adjustment. Fiona and the children settled into the flat Ryan had prepared, a comfortable 3-bedroom in a secure building. Furnished and decorated with attention to the details Ryan had learned the children appreciated. Lily had her room with purple walls and shelves full of books. Edward got the room with the slide bed he had wanted so much. Ryan kept his distance for the first few days, giving the family space to reconnect. He spoke to Fiona on the phone, asking if they needed anything but respected their private time. It was Lily who eventually broke this arrangement, calling him one evening. "Mr. Mitchell, aren't you coming to visit us anymore?" The simple, direct question caught Ryan off guard. "I thought you all needed time with your mum, Lily. But we miss you." "Me, Eddie, and Mum too, even if she doesn't say it." Ryan promised to visit them the next day. The meeting was initially awkward. Ryan brought gifts, books for Lily, new building blocks for Edward, and a plant for Fiona, who had mentioned she enjoyed looking after pots during one of their conversations. The children were clearly happy to see him, and Fiona, despite her natural reserve, was genuinely welcoming. While the children played in the living room, Fiona invited Ryan for a coffee on the small balcony of the flat. "Thank you," she said simply once they were alone. "For what?" "For everything. For the flat, for the job, for bringing me back. But most of all, for taking care of my children when I couldn't, for saving them." Ryan stirred his coffee, uncomfortable with the gratitude. "They saved me first," he replied finally. "I was lost after my wife passed. It was Lily who brought me back." Fiona smiled faintly. "She has that effect on people. Even when she was very little, she had this gift of making others smile." There was a moment of comfortable silence between them. Then Fiona continued, "You know, when I heard that a wealthy businessman was trying to adopt my children, I imagined the worst. I thought it would be someone trying to buy them, someone who would use his money and influence to take them from me permanently. But me? You truly love them. Not as trophies or a charity project. You see them for who they are." Ryan nodded, moved by her accurate observation. "And they love you too," Fiona continued. "Eddie asks about you every day, and Lily, well, she's practically made a shrine with the photos of you together that the social worker gave her." Ryan smiled, picturing the scene. "I know this is strange and complicated," Fiona said, looking directly at him. "But I would like you to remain a part of their lives. Not just as the benefactor who helped their mother, but as what you've become to them in this time." "What exactly have I become?" Ryan asked, genuinely curious about how Fiona perceived his role. She thought for a moment. "A second father, I think. Someone they know will always be there for them no matter what. Someone who chose them, even when he didn't have to." The conversation was interrupted by Edward, who came running to show them something he had built with the new blocks. Then it was Lily's turn to bring a book, asking Ryan to read a passage to them, like you used to at the home. The afternoon passed quickly, and when it was time for Ryan to leave, there was a new understanding between him and Fiona, a tacit agreement that somehow they would make this unusual situation work for the sake of the children. The weeks turned into months. Fiona adapted well to her new job, demonstrating an intelligence and determination that impressed her colleagues at Mitchell Tech. The children were enrolled in a good school near the flat, and Edward, especially, blossomed in the new, stable environment, gradually losing the fear and insecurities that had plagued him at the home. Ryan found his place in this new family setup. He had dinner with them a few times a week, took the children on outings at the weekend, and was present at important school meetings and doctor's appointments. He wasn't a father in the traditional sense, but he was a constant, loving presence in Lily and Edward's lives, and surprisingly, in Fiona's life as well. What began as a pragmatic partnership for the children's happiness gradually evolved into a genuine friendship. Ryan admired Fiona's resilience, her ability to rebuild her life from scratch, her unconditional love for her children. She, in turn, came to value not just Ryan's material generosity, but especially his kindness, his integrity, his willingness to put Lily and Edward's well-being above his own desires. It was during Lily's birthday party, almost a year after Fiona's return, that Ryan realized how completely his life had changed. The celebration was held at his apartment, Lily's own idea as she wanted to show Uncle Ryan's house to her new school friends. The place, once so silent and empty, was now overflowing with life, with children running through the corridors, colorful balloons decorating the walls, and the sound of laughter echoing everywhere. At one point, Ryan found himself on the balcony, watching the city while taking a moment's breath from the party's commotion. Fiona found him there. "Is everything all right?" she asked, concerned by his withdrawal. Ryan smiled reassuringly. "Better than all right. I was just thinking about how life comes full circle. 2 years ago, I was right here looking at this same view, completely alone and convinced I would never feel real joy again. And now? Now I have a flat invaded by 8-year-old pirates and princesses, a half-eaten cake on the living room table, and more noise than I ever thought I could tolerate. He chuckled softly. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. Fiona smiled, understanding the feeling perfectly. Thank you for throwing this party for Lily. It means so much to her. To have friends, to have a place to call her own. This place is as much hers as it is mine, Ryan replied with sincerity. Actually, I've been thinking a lot about that. This flat is too big for one person, it always was. And with you all coming here so often. He hesitated, then continued. I have a proposal. The building where you are is nice, but the school, your work, my visits. Everything would be easier if we were closer. There's a flat for sale on the floor below. 3 bedrooms, park view, 24-hour security. Fiona raised an eyebrow, surprised by the suggestion. Are you proposing we move into your building? If you want to. It would be more convenient for everyone And? Ryan smiled a little self-consciously. And I miss them when they're not around. You too, to be honest. There was a moment of silence as Fiona processed the unexpected confession. Before she could reply, they were interrupted by Lily, who came running, still wearing her birthday crown. Mum, Uncle Ryan, you're missing the game. Eddie has already popped 2 balloons with his head, and everyone's laughing. Fiona and Ryan exchanged a knowing look, the unfinished conversation hanging between them. Let's go, Fiona said, extending a hand to Ryan. We can't miss that. He accepted her offered hand, and together they returned to the party, to the children, to the life that had so unexpectedly sprung from a simple bet on a Manchester pavement. 6 months later, the move was complete. Fiona and the children now lived on the floor below Ryan's apartment, creating a family dynamic that, while unconventional, worked perfectly for them. The children could come up to visit Uncle Ryan at any time. The adults could share responsibilities more easily, and there was a sense of community, of belonging. That benefited everyone. The case of Rainbow House and the international trafficking ring had resulted in multiple convictions. Marcia Evans and other key figures would serve long sentences. New Hope Global was dismantled internationally, and other child victims of the scheme were located. Some already reunited with their biological families, others in process. Ryan transformed his personal experience into a larger mission. He created a foundation in Beatrice's name, dedicated to overseeing and restructuring the adoption and care system in the UK. With his influence in the business world, he managed to mobilize resources and attention for the cause, promoting significant changes in legislation and child protection practices. Lily, now 9, became a sort of informal ambassador for the foundation. Her story, told with due protection of her identity, inspired other children and adults. The notebook she had kept at the home became crucial evidence in dozens of cases, helping to locate other children who had disappeared within the system. Edward, at 7, had almost completely overcome the traumas of the past. He still had occasional nightmares, but now he knew that when he woke up scared, he would have not only his mother to comfort him, but also his sister in the next room, and Uncle Ryan just 1 floor above. On a Sunday afternoon, more than 2 years after Ryan and Lily's first meeting on that wet pavement, the makeshift family was having a picnic in Heaton Park. Edward and some school friends were playing football under Ryan's supervision, while Lily read a book, her head resting in Fiona's lap. "Mum," Lily said suddenly, closing her book, "can I ask you something?" "Of course, my love." "Have you ever thought that if I hadn't made that bet with Uncle Ryan that day, we wouldn't be here now? If I hadn't made him laugh, none of this would have happened." Fiona reflected on her daughter's surprisingly profound observation. "I think you're right. Lily, sometimes the most important moments of our lives happen when we least expect them. It's like Uncle Ryan always says, some stories don't end with a signature on a piece of paper. They just begin." Fiona smiled, watching Ryan run after Edward and his friends, pretending to be a monster, as the children shrieked with laughter. When their eyes met, he smiled back, that same smile Lily had awakened on that first day, and which now appeared so easily. "Your bet changed everything," Fiona agreed, hugging her daughter, "for all of us." And as the sun began to set over the park, casting a golden light on the family, that had found each other in the most unlikely of ways. Lily thought about the bet she had made so long ago, a laugh in exchange for a pizza. She could never have imagined she would win so much more: a home, a future, a family made whole again. Some bets, she realized with a wisdom beyond her years, were worth far more than they seemed at first glance. 5 years had passed since that afternoon when Lily made her bet with Ryan on the Manchester pavement. The girl of improvised jokes was now a 12-year-old teenager, with longer hair but the same sharp, determined eyes. Edward, at 10, had become a sociable and creative boy, passionate about construction and architectural drawings, inspired by long conversations with Ryan about the buildings his company helped erect across the city. Life had found its rhythm for the unconventional family. Fiona had progressed at Mitchell Tech, being promoted to head of the administrative department after demonstrating remarkable talent for organization and leadership. Her determination and quick learning ability had impressed not only Ryan but all the company directors. The Beatrice Mitchell Foundation, created by Ryan in honor of his wife, had become a national reference in child protection. In recent years, it had been responsible for implementing new inspection protocols in children's homes, creating support programs for vulnerable families, and funding research into the adoption system in the UK. "Uncle Ryan, are you really taking us to see the new foundation headquarters?" asked Edward, as they had breakfast at Ryan's flat on a sunny Saturday. "Of course I am," confirmed Ryan, affectionately ruffling the boy's hair. "You're practically the foundation's honorary consultants. We need your approval for the new space." Lily, who was spreading jam on a piece of toast, looked up with interest. "Is it true there's going to be a whole library just with children's stories?" "Miss Denise mentioned something like that in our English class." "Yes, there is. We're calling it the Library of Voices. It's a space where we gather accounts, letters, drawings, and other forms of expression from children who have been through the care system. The idea is that their stories won't be lost and can help others understand the importance of a system that really works." "Is my notebook there?" asked Lily, referring to the small notebook where she had recorded the transfers at Rainbow House. "A digitized copy, yes. The original is kept as court evidence, but your testimony, even with your identity protected, has already helped change a lot of policies, you know." Lily smiled, a mixture of pride and shyness. Over the years, she had learned to reframe her experience at the home. With psychological help and the constant support of her mother and Ryan, she had transformed her pain into a source of strength and early activism. At 12, she had already spoken, with her face protected and name changed, at 2 conferences on children's rights, sharing her unique perspective. Fiona arrived at the flat with a tray of still warm cheese scones she had picked up from the children's favorite bakery. The delicious smell immediately filled the room. "Now, that's what I call a proper Saturday breakfast," commented Ryan, helping her place the tray on the table. "Good morning to you too," she said, smiling at the sight of the trio already gathered. She placed a kiss on each of her children's foreheads, and without hesitation, on Ryan's cheek as well, a gesture that had become natural over the years. "We need to talk about the summer holiday," Fiona announced, sitting down with them. "Lily is insisting on the Lake District, for the caves and nature. Edward is leaning towards Cornwall for the beaches. And you, Ryan?" "I think we can do both," he suggested, taking a scone. "We have 3 weeks. We can spend 10 days in each place." "And spend a fortune," observed Fiona, pragmatic as ever when it came to finances, despite her much more comfortable situation now. Ryan shrugged. "Money is there to be used. And I want to make up for missing last year's trip because of that project in London." The project in London had been the construction of Mitchell Tech's newest innovation hub, an ambitious undertaking that required Ryan's constant presence in the capital for nearly 2 months. It was the first time since they had formed their makeshift family that he had been away for so long. Daily video calls had softened the absence, but everyone had felt the impact of his being away. "Kids, how about you two decide on the holiday itinerary together?" proposed Fiona. "Make a presentation with pros and cons, costs, activities, everything, like a school project, but fun, and then present it to us." "Great idea," exclaimed Edward, already excited at the prospect of planning and drawing maps. "Can we use the company's meeting room for the formal presentation?" asked Lily, who always liked to add a professional touch to things. Of course you can, agreed Ryan. I'll book it for you next Friday afternoon. You can use all the equipment. As the children excitedly discussed ideas for their presentation, Fiona and Ryan exchanged knowing glances. Their ability to work as a team in raising the children had solidified over the years, turning an initially strange situation into a harmonious and functional arrangement. After breakfast, the children went down to their flat to start their holiday project, leaving the adults alone. Ryan helped Fiona clear the kitchen, a comfortable routine they had developed. I've been thinking, Ryan began as he put the mugs away. It's been 5 years since I met Lily on that pavement. It feels like both much longer and much shorter at the same time. 5 years, repeated Fiona thoughtfully. It's incredible how our lives have completely changed in that time. Sometimes I catch myself trying to remember what it was like before, and it seems like another life, almost as if it happened to someone else. Do you know what Lily said to me the other day? Commented Ryan with a smile. That we should celebrate the anniversary of the bet. The exact date she proposed the trade of a laugh for a pizza. That's a lovely idea, so like her, agreed Fiona. We could do something special. After all, it really was the beginning of everything. There was a moment of comfortable silence between them, the kind that only people who have shared a great deal can have. Fiona, Ryan said finally, a more serious tone in his voice. There's something I've been thinking about for a while, and maybe this anniversary is the right time to talk about it. She looked at him with curiosity, noticing an unusual tension in his shoulders. What would that be? Ryan took a deep breath, as if gathering courage for something important. In these 5 years, we've built something unique. A family that doesn't follow conventional models, but it works. The children are happy, you're happy, I'm happy. We have our separate flats, our independent lives, but at the same time, we're always together on all the important decisions. Yes, and I'm very grateful for that, Fiona agreed, still not understanding where he was going. What do you think about formalizing it in some way? He asked finally. Not necessarily in the traditional way people expect, but in a way that makes sense for us. Fiona stared at him surprised. Ryan Mitchell, are you asking me to marry you? He smiled a little self-consciously. I'm proposing that we consider all the possibilities. Marriage, a civil partnership, or just some kind of formal agreement about raising the children. The important thing is to ensure that legally I can have a role in their lives, even if something happens to me or to you. Fiona thought for a moment. Over the years, her relationship with Ryan had evolved from a pragmatic partnership to a deep friendship, and eventually to something more, although both had been cautious about defining exactly what that something more was. There was affection, mutual respect, emotional intimacy, and occasionally moments that suggested they could explore romantic possibilities, but neither had taken the decisive first step. Are you thinking about this because of the children, or for the two of us as well? She asked directly. Ryan looked her in the eyes. For all of us. I won't deny that my main concern is Lily and Edward. I want to make sure that no matter what happens, they will know they always have a place with me. But also, he hesitated briefly, I also think about us, Fiona, about what we've built together, what we could build from here. Before Fiona could reply, the intercom buzzed. It was Edward, asking for help with the jammed printer in the flat below. The moment was interrupted, but the conversation lingered between them, waiting to be resumed. In the following weeks, the idea Ryan had planted continued to grow in Fiona's mind. She observed their dynamic more closely, the way the children naturally referred to them as a unit, the ease with which they shared responsibilities and joys. The inauguration of the new Beatrice Mitchell Foundation headquarters was a significant event for the whole family. Located in a restored historic townhouse in Manchester city centre, the headquarters featured modern and welcoming spaces for family support, professional training, and educational activities. The Library of Voices, which Ryan had mentioned, occupied a large room on the second floor, with walls covered in colourful shelves. Instead of just traditional books, there were diaries, framed drawings, audio recordings, videos, and interactive installations, all forms of expression from children who had been through the care system. During the guided tour, Lily stopped in front of a special display case, where there was an exact replica of her notebook, open to one of the pages where she had meticulously recorded the transfers of children. Beside it, A text explained how the notes of one brave child had helped dismantle an international trafficking ring and save dozens of other children. "It's strange seeing this here," commented Lily, in a low voice. "It feels like it happened to someone else." Ryan gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "In a way, it did. You're not that scared little girl from the home anymore. You've grown, you've turned your pain into something positive. But never forget how strong you were, even in the most difficult times." Lily nodded, moved. Then she noticed something curious in another nearby display case. "What's that?" she asked, pointing to an empty pizza box carefully preserved behind glass. Ryan smiled, a little embarrassed. "Ah, that's the box from the first pizza we shared, remember? I kept it as a sort of good luck charm. When we decided to create this library, I thought it deserved a place here. It was the start of everything, after all." "You kept a pizza box for 5 years?" asked Lily, a mix of surprise and amusement in her voice. "I've kept a lot of things from these years. The drawing Edward made of the three of us on our first Christmas. The note you left on my desk after the first time you stayed the night at my flat. They're little milestones of our story." Lily looked at Ryan with an expression that mixed admiration and something deeper, an understanding beyond her years. "You know, Uncle Ryan, Mum keeps things too. She has a box with all the cards you've given her, even the little notes from the supermarket. And she has that photo of us in the park, the first one we took all together after she came back, on her bedside table." A warmth spread through Ryan's chest upon hearing this. Fiona, always so practical and objective, also kept memories of them, also considered those moments special enough to preserve. The inauguration proceeded with speeches and a small reception. Rebecca Hughes, now the Foundation's Chief Operating Officer, led much of the event. Her experience as an investigator had been fundamental in structuring the oversight and protection programs. D.I. Helen MacDonald, who had commanded the raid on Rainbow House 5 years earlier, was also present, now as a consultant to the Foundation on Child Safety Matters. At the end of the event, when only the family and a few close friends remained, Ryan gathered everyone in the headquarters inner garden. "I'd like to make a small announcement," he said, visibly emotional. "Today we celebrate not only the opening of this new headquarters, but also a very special anniversary for me. Exactly 5 years ago, a brave little girl made me a bet on a city center pavement. If she could make me laugh, I'd buy her a pizza." Soft laughter rippled through the small group. The story was known to all. What no one imagined was that this bet would change so many lives. Mine certainly, as it brought me back to the land of the living when I was merely existing. Lillian Edwards, who found safety and stability after difficult times. Fiona's, who got her children back and rebuilt her life. And those of many other children and families who have been helped by the work that grew from that seemingly chance encounter. Ryan paused, looking directly at Fiona, who was flanked by her children. "To celebrate this date, I'd like to propose a new bet." He approached Fiona, taking a small box from his pocket. It wasn't a traditional ring box, but a perfect miniature of a pizza box. "Fiona O'Connell, I bet we can build something even more extraordinary in the next 5 years, and the 5 after that, and in all the years to come. Not in the conventional way the world expects, but in our own way, which has already proven to work so well." He opened the small pizza box, revealing not a ring but 2 golden keys. "Side by side, these are the keys to a new house. A house with enough space for all of us, with a room for each child, an office for you, a studio for my projects, and a large garden where we can plant that vegetable patch you've always wanted. A place we can turn into a home together if you'll accept." There was a moment of absolute silence. Lily and Edward looked from Fiona to Ryan, their eyes wide with surprise. Then the girl stepped forward, always the family's spokesperson in important moments. "Does this mean we're all going to live together? Like an official family?" Ryan smiled, but kept his eyes on Fiona, awaiting her answer. "If your mum wants to, yes. Like an official family. It doesn't matter what paper we sign or what name we give it. The important thing is that we're together." Fiona looked at the keys, at her children, and at the man before her. The man who had saved her children when she couldn't, who had brought her back to them, who had respected her space and her time to rebuild her life, and yet had never ceased to be present, supporting, caring, loving. "I think this deserves more than just living together," she said finally, taking the keys from Ryan's hand. "I think we deserve to do this properly." She turned to the children. "What do you think about having a ceremony? Something small, just for us and our closest friends? To officially celebrate what we've been for so long." Lily's eyes lit up. "You mean a wedding?" Fiona looked back at Ryan, seeing the surprise and hope on his face. "Yes, a wedding. If Uncle Ryan is willing to risk marrying someone he met under the strangest possible circumstances." Ryan laughed. That genuine laugh that Lily had unlocked 5 years earlier. "Considering everything about our story is unconventional, it would be strange if we did something conventional now, wouldn't it?" Edward, who had watched everything in silence until then, suddenly stepped forward, adopting a surprisingly formal posture for a 10-year-old. "Mr. Ryan Mitchell," he said, "with all seriousness, you have the O'Connell family's permission to marry our mother, provided you promise to continue making chocolate chip pancakes on Sundays and never stop playing Uno with us, even when Lily makes that grumpy face when she's losing." The boy's solemn declaration broke any remaining tension. Everyone laughed, and Ryan knelt to be at Edward's level. "I accept your terms, Mr. Edward O'Connell, and I add the promise to always be available for maths homework help and to build the best sandcastles on our beach holidays." Edward formally extended his hand, and they sealed the deal with a handshake followed by a tight hug. Lily joined the hug, and Fiona completed the family circle. The guests watching the scene applauded emotionally. Rebecca Hughes discreetly wiped away a tear, remembering how it had all begun, with a lonely businessman determined to uncover the mystery behind a girl who had made him laugh. Later, when the children were asleep at Ryan's flat and the adults were talking on the balcony, enjoying a bottle of wine to celebrate the occasion, Fiona touched upon a subject she had been holding on to for some time. "There's something I never told you," she said, looking out at the illuminated city below. "Something Lily told me when I first came back in those early days." "What?" Ryan asked, curious. "She told me that when she was at the home every night before she went to sleep, she would make a wish. Not to get out of there, not for new toys or for better food. She wished to find someone who would look after Eddie in case she couldn't protect him." Fiona paused, emotional. "My 7-year-old daughter already understood that she might not be able to stay with her brother, and her biggest worry was making sure he wouldn't be alone. And then, like in one of those fairy tales she loves so much, she found you. Or rather, she made you find her with that bet." Ryan reflected on the revelation, thinking about how small decisions, stopping to listen to a child on the street, accepting an unusual bet, buying a pizza, could completely alter the course of entire lives. "Do you believe in fate?" he asked finally. Fiona smiled, intertwining her fingers with his. "I believe in people who recognize opportunities to make a difference, even when they appear in the most unexpected places. Like a little girl telling jokes on a pavement, or a sad man willing to listen." That night, as the city slept outside, they began to plan their shared future. A new house, a simple wedding, more holidays, graduations, birthdays, all the big and small milestones that make up a family life. A life that began with a seemingly trivial question: "If I can make you laugh, will you buy me a pizza?"